What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is to just recap and chat about the Nations Championship that has been announced by World Rugby. Now obviously this was announced just over a week ago, which caused a little bit of controversy for the players, some past coaches and present, saying that this is generating too much rugby and that this is going to affect players with the injury lists and all that stuff, and everyone's worried about it affecting the provincial level and how it could affect players playing international rugby, going overseas to play more provincial rugby rather than international rugby and all that stuff, as well as your Pacific Island teams who actually weren't really included in this tournament. They wanted to boycott the Rugby World Cup of this year and all that jazz. So it's been quite a lot of drama around this Nations Championship talk. But World Rugby have met last night, which was Wednesday, and decided to change up a few things and discuss it more in detail. So overall, this tournament looks like it's going to be very broad, consisting of 3 divisions. It's going to be obviously the European division, the rest of the world, and then all the minnow teams like the Canadians, Mexico, and all those teams. Now your first division is your top tier, your second division is your tier 2 rugby teams. So the goal is to split them up into playing against each other. Obviously your division 1 will play against each other, and that makes up of the Six Nations team as well as the Rugby Championship team, and then adding an extra 2, and that will go by the rankings of the world rankings. So currently we're sitting at Japan and Fiji. They will then join in on the Rugby Championship and form that part of the division and tournament. So how it will look from a log point of view is whoever gets on the top sides of the Six Nations Championship will be on the top of the logs for the division. Same thing for the Rugby Championship. So your let's say New Zealand, South Africa on the top of the Rugby Championship, Ireland, England on the top of the Division Championship, Division 1, then they will then lead the way kind of thing. And then what they're going to do is play in June, this whole tournament where each team will play against each other once. Whether it's home or away, it will obviously go through a draw. Through that, you'll have your semi-finals as well as your big final. Now, the semi-finals and finals, if I'm not mistaken, I think will take place in November, whereas the other games will take place in June. So the goal of this is to create more international rugby for the fans and to get everyone a little bit more excited about the sport, which I do get, and I appreciate the thought going into this. But there's also the talk of, is it going to overlap with Pro 14? At this stage it does look like it could. The European Championship, Super Rugby on its own, is extremely long. How those kind of legalities are going to come into place? Again, it's not actually finalized. It's a proposal which will only kick off in 2022, so it's still a while away. The one thing I am happy about is Rugby Championship Six Nations stay the same. It's not going to affect that. The Lions Tour stays the same. That's not going to go, because there was talk of that being removed because of this, and I was going to be shattered about that because South Africa's next. So I'm glad to hear that's going to go about. Then we got the promotion relegation. Not going to go into too much detail, but the bottom teams will play. So the bottom of Division 1, so Italy, let's say, versus the as well as Division 2, so let's say Japan or Fiji will play against Divisions 2 tops. So you could have Georgia as well as another Tonga, for example, or Samoa, and they will play each other in a relegation match, winner going through. Apparently no relegation during the Lions Tour, so someone will be out for quite some time from their respective league, be it the Six Nations or Rugby Championship. But here are the ideas or goals that the World Rugby has announced. So they said they created this for the best possible environment and opportunities for players. Okay, could see it, growing international rugby, but the question is it not too much rugby? And a lot of you guys seem to think it is. Then the first ever pathway for emerging unions to compete at the top of the table of annual competitions. Agree with that. I like the idea that we are including the minnows like the Mexicans and all those other teams, Namibia, to develop rugby in various nations. I think I've always been a strong believer on that, and every nation will play 11 consecutive games, which I think is fantastic. So we're going to see a development and a bigger build-up for the Rugby World Cup. A better fan experience with enhanced meaning and attractiveness of fixtures, fair enough. Financial certainty of unions, well, we'll have to wait and see for that one. Harmonization with club rugby, again, we'll have to wait and see with that one, because club rugby is so important for the players as well as the fans. They seem to enjoy that also. Revenue maximization for reinvestment in all levels of the game globally. Some interesting pointers there to remember. Obviously the World Cup is also the question, hence why I say, or said in my previous video, I want this tournament to be the once every like 4 years kind of thing. So we're not taking away that buzz from the World Cup. You're having this tournament every year, except for World Cup year. It takes away that excitement for the World Cup. Like I said, we're building up to this World Cup. We're all excited for Japan, but now all of a sudden, in 4 years' time, or after 2022, we're losing that excitement because of this now Nations Championship. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it could be different, and we could have a better attitude towards it. So here's other pointers that the reasons. The Six Nations Rugby Championship and British Irish Lions completely retained and protected as jewels in the calendar. So that's good. Nations Championship, like I said, is going to debut in 2022. 2 divisions, merit-based format with promotion, relegation, and potential pathway for all unions. 2 conferences comprising of the Six Nations Rugby Championship, where 2 tier teams would be immediately added to make the 6 in the Rugby Championship side, and that's from the World Log. Each team will play each other 11, like mentioned, and top 2 teams face each other in the conference, could play cross-conference semi-finals, followed by a grand final. Running in 2 of the 4 years in the Rugby World Cup cycle, not running in the Rugby World Cup year, which is interesting, well, which is good, because otherwise it's going to be too much rugby. Broadcast rights aggregated and collectively sold, increasing potential, possibility to centralize some sponsorship rights. That's all broadcasting stuff. Competition will provide qualification and seeding for future Rugby World Cups. Very interesting, that one. And Rugby World Cup, and I like this one, to be enhanced, the pinnacle global event, potentially moving to 24 teams in 2027. That is still a hell of a long way away. I would have done that already in the next World Cup in 2022, and bring up the more players into the World Cup. So it's an interesting concept, which I am excited about, but I'm also nervous about, because you don't want to destroy the lives of other players. We still have the issue of provincial rugby levels growing and getting stronger, so more players wanting to go play there because the money they offer there. If they can solve the issue of money being paid to players from an international level and increase it, then by all means go ahead with this tournament, because that seems to be the problem. If you look at Kieran Reid, he's going to earn quite a lot more money than he's earned for the All Blacks in Japan. We look at for example, the Sharks rugby team. We're losing the Priya brothers as well as Akra van der Merwe. Why? Because of their salary. Again, South Africa's exchange rate doesn't help us on that, but you know what I mean there. So that's the goal. That also should be a question mark, is increasing the salaries for international rugby players so that they are more convinced to stick around rather than just run off and go. I did a poll last night on my YouTube channel in the community page section. I said, should World Rugby go ahead with the updated version of the Nations Championship, which was just released? And 302 votes were made. 24% of you said yes, it should go ahead, but 76 of you said no. So there's still a lot of comments and talk around this tournament not being the viable thing. I think there's a lot of you guys who are fans of your provincial levels and don't want that to be destroyed. Completely understand that, as I love the Super Rugby as well, being a South African. I do like the idea of more international rugby, but should we have left it the way it was from a June internationals and your November internationals? It's going to be interesting, because question I have, November, you have your playoffs and your quarters and all that jazz. What's going to happen to the other teams who don't qualify? Do they automatically have an off season in November? How is that going to work? So many questions to ask about this tournament, but so much to actually also look forward to, which could make it very, very interesting. So make sure you let me know your thoughts again down in the comment section down below. What do you think about this updated version with having the 3 divisions in this tournament, generating more opportunity for the weaker teams to play competitive rugby, and then we see more of the top tier teams playing against each other? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you can keep up to date with all future uploads. Thanks so much for watching this. Stay safe and never give up. Cheers.